We must atone!
Something is coming. You can feel it, can't you? You can feel that we are creeping towards the edge. I know that you are out there. And I know that you are in pain. But my children, I'm here to tell you that suffering is a choice, and you can choose a better path. We want you, we accept you, and we will take you, willingly or not. And some of you may fight, but in the end, you will thank us. I am your father, and you are my children.
Upon us! I shall lead you to the gate! For you are my children, and I am your father!
Back on the scene.
This is Gamertag Radio.
All right, this is Paris, Gamertag Radio. We're here in Santa Monica, California, here with Danny, and we just got to see Far Cry 5, and I got someone here to talk about it, so can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, my name's Dan Hay. I'm the executive producer on Far Cry and the creative director on Far Cry 5.
Thank you for joining us. Now, I just have to say, wow,
Cool.
From the presentation that you just showed us regarding Far Cry 5 and its setting. So can you kind of talk about where this is taking place and kind of why?
I think where it's taking place is we're taking players to Montana. We're taking players to America for the first time in the franchise. And I think that the reason why is that we know that Far Cry is about visiting a frontier. But what we thought in this game would be really interesting is to kind of put it in your own backyard, right? Give players the opportunity to experience something. Yes, Far Cry is exotic. Yes, it usually takes you, 1,000 miles away. But this time, plumb the depths of the things that are maybe at home or in your backyard that could be tweaked and be even more interesting than you could believe.
So, sorry, I looked away. So again, it's in Montana, but what time period is this game happening in?
It's now.
It is now.
Present day. Yep.
So, okay, I know, development ideas for this probably happened way in the past. We obviously know what's going on in America right now. So how timely is this game compared to what we're seeing in our political climate?
It's an interesting question. We get asked questions like that all the time. It's like, it's kind of chicken or the egg. Did the creative come born from what's happening now? And the answer is no, probably not. But of course, the events that lead us to where we are have to have some kind of reflection on us. But at the same time, we've been thinking about this game for 3 years. We've been thinking about this idea of a place where people are, distrusting. People are frustrated, and that global consciousness is that we're experiencing in the world right now is even maybe a reflection of what some of the people in the game are feeling. But it's not specifically about a political agenda at all. It's more about the idea that it feels like we have a character in our game that believes that we are creeping closer to the edge of something. And I think that's relevant now. I think you kind of wake up in the morning and you feel a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. And this character is saying, we're this close, and maybe we should do something about it. Maybe we should prepare.
There was, I know also during the presentation, you talked about also religion in there. And going back when I was in my teens, I was confused with the whole religion part. Like I was reading a lot of books and everything. And I remember going to an organization, to me now it's like a cult. I can see why people take that like super personal, like when it comes to the whole religion stuff, and they follow cult leader and everything like that. I think a lot of people are going to talk about that once this game gets announced pretty soon. So how important was that to really do research more like a lot about religion and so on for you guys?
I think it was super important for us to do that. And the key thing for us was to be able to make it our own, right? Even though the game takes place in Montana, it's our Montana. And Hope County doesn't exist it exists in our world, but it's not there in the real world. And when we did this, we wanted to be able to make sure that from, the question about religion or the question about spirituality, that there was a magnetic leader who had a belief, a single belief, that the end of times was coming, that he was magnetic and had the ability to rally people around that, and that maybe he hijacked elements from religions that he'd read about or seen, but that it was when we build that religion or that construct or that idea in the world, it's ours. So we want to be careful to make sure that we're reverent to religion, that we're not, it's specifically ours. And we want to make sure that his mandate, that the dogma that he believes in, lives in Far Cry 5 alone.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the characters too?
Sure.
In the game?
So without giving too much away, I think you guys saw the father and some of the family members today. And what's really interesting about this guy is that he's been hearing this voice. And this voice has been telling him that the end of times is coming. And he almost considers himself to be this modern day Noah. The only difference is the animals aren't going to come to him. He's going to have to go and get them, whether they want to be saved or not. And in that case, that's us, that's people in the world. He's basically going to go out and try and save them, whether we want to be saved or not. And that creates a really interesting mandate and a really interesting collision of events in the game.
Now, this whole topic really fascinates me, and it really, as you were giving your presentation, it really kind of got the wheels turning in my head. We obviously know about what happened in Oregon a little while back, or we even think of someone like David Koresh going back to, back to when that happened years ago. But in your research and what you've been seeing as you've been building this game, what's the draw to like a cult, to like we're seeing these milita and the compounds? What's drawing people to look at this one person and saying, we're going to rally around this and we're going to come together and we're going to stand for whatever their cause may be? What have you seen in your research?
That's interesting. It's hard to classify it down to one thing. I think it's partly the magnetic nature of the people who are doing the talking, right? And the message is, if somebody meets you at the right time and you're feeling disenfranchised, or you're feeling lonely, or you're feeling broken, or you're feeling like you've been pushed out, or you've been ostracized, or you're just not feeling special, right? Or not being heard. I think that there's an opportunity to be able to have somebody come in and say the right thing to you at the right moment that just sort of fills the well that's maybe a little empty inside, or just begins to give you a mandate. Some people just have this feeling like they want to have a purpose. And when you meet somebody who's magnetic, when you meet somebody who has a goal, whether it's altruistic or not, and they provide you with that purpose, good works can be done, but also horrible things can happen.
Now, the other thing that you brought up, which quite honestly scares me, just being honest, is in this fictional world of Far Cry 5 that you've created with the father and this militia that he now runs and owns, he's getting prepared for the collapse. And he has this group believing in him, waiting for the collapse. What I'm seeing is, and what you kind of talked about a little already, is what if the collapse isn't happening fast enough and he needs to give it that nudge? You're looking to kind of egg the situation along, kind of give it a little nudge so that it happens. So in Far Cry 5, is this kind of the scenario that we're going to see? I know you want to give away too much story-wise, but is this kind of part of what we're going to see, where we're just going to give it that little nudge to kind of push it in a certain direction?
Without giving too much away, here's what I imagine when I try and get in the head of the father. That for years now, he's been saying that the collapse is coming. For years now, he's been prognosticating that very specific things are going to happen. And he's got all these people that are listening to him. And eventually, the eyes of those people are going to look at him and say, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And that must be frustrating. That must be an incredible amount of pressure. And we know that when you add pressure to a situation that's already a little bit off, the results could be catastrophic. In this case, we put the player in the middle of that with Joseph under pressure, the father under pressure. We have the player go in, and we create a situation where it could become explosive, and it is.
I know you guys started working on this 3 years ago. So based on everything that's going on now, because the timing, I think, is like perfect with this. Have you guys also made changes based on what's going on now too, while you were developing the game?
It's an interesting question, and I think that the truth of the matter is not specifically changes. No, it's I don't think that we read what's going on in the news and go, oh wait, hold on, we have to put this in, or we read what's being said in the newspaper or what's on television. We don't do that. We had an idea for this game, and whether it's serendipity, whether it's just fate, it kind of aligns. I think it was 50% by design and 50% luck, right? That it kind of matches what's going on and what the global consciousness of people feel is. But when it comes to whether or not something is going to happen tomorrow and it's going to affect the game, or in a couple of months and affect the game, I think we have to be careful with that. We have a creative, we have an idea, we have something that we want to be able to do, and if we're going to stay true to that, the danger of trying to make something where you make everything possible is you end up making nothing. And I would rather, we had a kernel of an idea 2.5 to 3 years ago. We had this idea that this person believes the end is coming, and they feel the weight of the pressure of it. They feel this mandate, they believe it. And we put you in the middle of that in a classic Far Cry way where, when I think about Far Cry, when I think about a story for Far Cry, I just imagine I'm sitting at a bar and I'm drinking a scotch and I hear somebody come up and sit next to me talking to their buddy, and they basically tell a story that feels like an urban legend. And when I listen to it, that's a Far Cry story. And when I listen to this and almost see it through your eyes for the first time, like fresh, it absolutely has that feeling of being in a bar and hearing that story and going, Jesus, that's powerful.
Is there any books or movies that inspire you guys to come with?
There's a ton. We go through a ton of research on this. We met with cult experts. We actually went to Montana. We read a ton. I won't go into specifically what we read, but there's a ton of stuff out there, and there's a lot of smart people that came in and helped us and talked to us about it. The other thing too that's cool is that we're a big team and we're a diverse team. So just in terms of personal experiences and different things and characters, you leverage the stories you hear even within the team.
Okay, and finally, obviously we got to see a little snippet of everything that's going on, and we know E3 is coming up, and you guys will be talking about more in the future, so probably want to get too in-depth right now. But is there anything else that you want to leave people listening to this to know about Far Cry 5 as we go into E3?
Great question. Good question.
That's what I try to do.
You know what? When it's super simple and maybe it's super it's micro, but there was a moment where we were in Montana, we were hunting, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and it was tired and cold, and at the end of the day, we're about to get in the truck and end the day, and the guy that we're with goes, "Don't move." Okay, what's going on? He goes, "Look." And we look over at his dog, and his dog is just absolutely staring at this bush. And we're watching this dog, and we're out there what feels like an eternity watching this dog. And at the last minute, he barks, and this grouse goes, and he goes, "Always trust your dog." And that feeling of the pet, that feeling of having a pet that goes with you in Far Cry, which is what we learned a little bit from when you play Primal. And that feeling of companionship and having a real bond with that pet, that's something that's it's new for us. It's really powerful, and I think people are going to love it.
Well, Dan, thank you for taking some time to talk to us about Far Cry 5.
Cool.
You have absolutely piqued my interest.
Cool.
Probably scared the shit out of me telling me all this stuff, but I'm excited to hear more about it.
Right on.
Can't wait to E3 and just more in the future. So thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Gamertag Radio is on Play.it.
Gamertag Radio is all about video games.
Get all the latest news and coverage related to the gaming industry.
Join hosts Danny Pena, Paris Lilly, and Peter Toledo.
Get daily interviews.
All the latest gaming coverage.
Roundtable discussion.
The latest news from Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo.
Exclusive content.
Everything you need to know. Developer interviews, VR, and more.
Gamertag Radio.
You don't want to miss this.
Download and subscribe at Play.it and iTunes.